Hello and welcome to the Drivers' Room Championship Season 3 Tier 1 Round 6 race here at Bathurst. As we can see, Alex is at the top of the standings with F1 just behind. McGee is in 3rd, Desler in 4th and Mungino in 5th. But the pack is close behind. If you look, there's a lot of drivers there with similar points. And then we've got some one-off drivers near the bottom. But we're at Bathurst this week and let's see what happened in the race. So here we are at Bathurst in the N600 British mostly cars. No one's decided to drive the SLR McLaren, but we did include it just for the fun. But let's see what happened on track today. As we zip through the beautifully liveried field, we've got Nari and Alex on the front row. Alex sneaking the pole there. Then we have Desler and RS3 Evo 4 on the second row. Behind them we have Lorcas and Gadget. Gadget running a new livery in this, not with the Sigma colours anymore. He's now got the Sony Alpha colours for Sunday Series, so look out for that change. Then we've got Bullet in the McLaren F1 and Knee Jogger in the MP4. And then we have on the back row today Daz in the Aston Martin and Haldir or Jason in the MP4 for Petrolheads Racing. He's a new addition for this round. Let's see how everyone got on in the race. So we're building up now for the start. Alex on pole, and he does get the better launch, it looks like. It's going to be a close run thing though. Alex is away and ahead into turn 1 through Hell Corner as they fire it up towards the mountain for the first time. As you can see, most of the field has chosen the MB4 12C. It seems like it was the best of the cars available. Oh, we got Gadget there out on the grass trying to get round Lorcas. And Knee Jogger looked like he got a pretty good start too. As we go into Griffins for the first time, very easy to understeer wide, as you can see Nari's done. Come up now into probably the hardest corner on the track in my opinion, because it's so easy to have problems like that. Massive oversteer, or you can get understeer. So we're on board with Gadget now. You can see he's running a little bit of traction control to try and control that slip. It is slightly slower, but it's more controllable. As you can see, we've now got Lorcas right behind him as we start to go over the top of the mountain. These cars are very different to the cars we drove in the Thursday race. Of course, we do apologise for the delay in bringing you this round. This round was a few weeks ago now. As we go into the dipper for the first time, Daz has fallen to the rear of the field. He's probably in the least suited car, but it is a very, very pretty car, that Aston Martin. Oh, I think Haldir had a small error there. Nothing too worrying. He goes through into the elbow for the first time. It's all about getting it in tight late, so you can get on the power nice and early. As we head down the Conrad Straight. These cars are pretty fast. They are supercars after all. Over 165, possibly 170 as we go through the chase. Very fast, got 180, sorry, we're almost that. Oh, who's that gone out wide? That was like Desler's absolutely fired it off the track. Oh, that's a big hit. Let's get another view of that on board with Knee Jogger, who's right behind him. You can see he's lifted off. Desler looked like he didn't. Got on the brakes too late to try and save it. Amazingly managed to miss the two cars ahead of him. But as we saw, and Gadget's been punted there by Lorcas, probably a little bit hesitant in trying to make sure he didn't have an incident. He's accidentally had an incident. And Lorcas, you know, waiting for him. Desler's managed to get through, recovered his car. As you can see, errors happen, and Lorcas does the right thing, pulling to the side to allow Gadget back through. So not a great start for the new team sponsor. Oh, and Desler's gone a little bit wide again. Not a good start for Des, but he can recover it. Of course, this is a 40-minute race. We've got exceedingly high fuel wear at the moment. Seems we're at the beginning of lap 2 here, up at the front of the track. Oh, a big slide there from Larry. RS3 just behind. Looks like Alex has managed to kind of steamroller away. Nijogger's got a great run on RS3, who's weirdly given up the inside lane. Maybe he just realised he couldn't fight that. That's a great run up towards the mountain. Alex there on the sports soft tyres, as is the rest of the field. Really streaking away now. He's one of those drivers, Alex, where if you give him a chance to get away, you probably won't see him again. He's not pressured, he's very unlikely to make a mistake. Oh, bullet there. Oh, and Howler hits the wall. Howler had a good start. Looks like he's a little unfortunate there. Desler had a terrible end to that first lap. And Gadget kind of caught up in unfortunate error. Well, not error, but unfortunate error from Lorcaz. And they'll have to fight hard to get back up the field. Unsurprisingly, Alex setting purple. Oh, he crashes into the wall there. Just pushing a little too hard through the dipper. We've only got light damage on, so he's got away with that. But, oh, I think maybe he hit another wall here. Because now Nari's right behind him. It looked like Nari was a fair way back before. Oh, but he's run it in too deep into the elbow. Now we're compromised on the exit, and he won't be able to get a run at him. That's a real shame. He had a really good chance. Alex, of course, there is a slipstream, but it probably won't be powerful enough from there. We'll see what happens. There's RS3, he seems to be slowing down for some reason. Not quite sure why. There's Nijogger. He's now back up to pace. Maybe there was a slight contact between those two. It'll explain why Nijogger was behind again. That was an incredibly brave manoeuvre there. Halder holding it round the outside. I think Desler was looking. Oh, but Halder and Desler have gone off at the same part of the track. That's allowed Gadget through. He'll take those positions, try and get himself some better points. Oh, it's close into the final corner. As we come down into Hell Corner, I believe this is Hell Corner. It's a surprisingly slow corner, and it's very important to get a good exit. It fires you all the way up towards the mountain. We go through turn 2. Very easy corner to get wrong again. The walls always feel very tight when you first come up into the mountain, especially here. Double left-hander with a little bit of off-camber just to throw you into the wall a little bit easier. This section's one of those sections where you think a tiny wall touch won't cost you too much, but it costs you massively in terms of your acceleration over here. In the Group 2 cars on the Thursday race, they were doing 150 through that corner. Now they're doing 110 on sports tyres, which really shows you the pace of these N600 cars. Nari now setting purple sectors. He has looked quick. Bullet up into third. That's a great run from Bullet. Not the fastest of guys, but is always fairly consistent. Doesn't tend to make mistakes. There's Daz. And Daz right behind him as they head into the elbow. Oh, a touch on the wall from Desler on the way in, but he's managed to keep it tight. If he gets a good run out of here, which it looks like he has, he should have a run on Daz. And there's Gadget. He's trying to keep close to this battle too. Lorcaz holding on there behind. They seem to have dropped Jason now, unfortunately. Yeah, unfortunately Jason has dropped out the race. Oh, Nijogger's had an incident. And Daz is going to come screaming through. And Daz has definitely overshot the brakes. Looks like Nijogger has as well. And that's a real unfortunate way to lose a position there. Gadget's going to have made himself up another free position. Tighten this midfield pack now. And a bit of a gap up to the front runners. There's to 5th already. After his mistake on the first lap. There's RS3, he's going to be trying to get a look on Bullet. He's going to have better grip through these corners. Again, he's running traction control. Trying to help himself out the corners. But Bullet will be slightly quicker in a straight line once he gets to the chase. Well, down the Conrad straight and through the chase. He should be a little bit quicker up to that fast right-hand corner. Oh, he's got to be careful through there though. The older McLaren not as good through the high-speed stuff. And you can see his RS2 is really closed down the gap here. We are on lap 4. The cars aren't going to get many laps out of their fuel because we've got very high fuel wear on for this season. Made strategy slightly different to how it was in the last season. Very important to make sure you fuel early and often. You know, quite often. This isn't going to be the longest of races in terms of laps. They're going to be pitting probably every 5-6 laps. The endurance race, they were doing about 18-20 laps on fuel if they wanted to, but tyres weren't making it that far. RS3 there, got the move done on Bullet before we even got to the corner. Ninja now trying to recover. Oh, Lorcas has managed to get through on Gadget, and Gadget, oh, he's out on the grass. Is he going to pull it up in time? He's gone very tight to the corner, and he has lost the position again, and lost the position to Daz. Looks like he ran it a little bit too hot in. As we jump forward now. Lap 4, just behind Daz. Coming through the highest of speed corners. Ah, this is what happened. So we're actually taking a quick look at a replay here of Lorcas getting past both Gadget and Daz. That's why Gadget was behind Lorcas. So a mistake up the top section. Lorcas is through now into 7th. He'll pick up a couple more points that way. So we come through the Falcon's elbow. Got a great exit, Gadget, so that's why he had so much speed. He got a good exit and he would have got into the slipstream, and that's what probably fired him off. As we're now on lap 4 and we're seeing our first pit stops from Gadget and Knee Jogger. They'll drop to the back of the field. Gadget is usually known for longer stints, but in these races with the high fuel load, it's going to be high fuel wear, it's going to be unlikely he's going to be able to do that. Alex out in front on lap 5. Set the purple lap. You can see he's got the point for fastest lap at the moment. Nari is about a second or so behind him in terms of pace. Looks like the gap's around 4 to 5 seconds. There's RS3. He's having a good solid race so far. And there's, oh, Des crashes into the wall there. That's going to allow a Bullet to run around the outside. Both of these cars will be pitting at the end of the lap. Oh, now Bullet's made an error in the same sort of way. And now Des is going to have the lap back. That's a real shame for Bullet. He usually is a little bit more consistent than that. Desler, of course, the Season 1 champion way back in 2018. He's not the most active member of the community, but he does turn up and he does race hard. It's kind of the Stig, you could say. Doesn't really say much. He turns up, he drives well, drives fair. He's got a bit of time for Des. And there's Bullet. Like I say, one of the more consistent drivers, not always the most, electrifying pace. He's always there, always sniffing around for some points. And an opportunity of a top 5 finish today. With some mistakes for the more established top field drivers. And there's Des again, a little bit of a, unfortunately, a bit of ghosting there, allowing Bullet through. And there's Lorcas. Oh, what was that in the back? Oh, that's Daz off into the field. And he's decided to go lawn mowing. We've seen this before from Daz. He does have an affinity for going lawn, turning his cars into Flymos. I think definitely needs some Flymo sponsorship at some point. There's RS3 as we see Alex and Nari into the pits from the lead, so RS3 is going an extra lap. That's why he's been a little bit off the pace, you can see. His fuel saving should get it round. And there's Alex already back out the pits. Harry seems to have closed in a bit, but that might be because it looks like he didn't change his tyres. So he's double stinching the tyres, which is perfectly viable. The tyres hardly get used in a tank of fuel. Let's try to close that gap down a bit. There's Knee Jogger up the field a bit. Was he pitted earlier? And there's Bullet after his pit stop. Coming up right behind Des, who's just had his pit stop. Gadget's a little bit further back, I think, as we're on board with RS3 later around that lap. And you can see Alex is going to be closing that gap down all the time, because RS3 is not going to be able to run as hot. So they go through the dipper. This is what it looks like on fresh tyres. Oh, nice tight and in, and then you have to kind of jump it over that curve down there. You see Nari do it, there we go, and then stomp on the power when you get a chance. Oh, you hit the wall there a bit, but we'll edit that out. Oh, and so did Lorcas. It's quite easy to do in these cars though. Lateral grip isn't really their strong point. There's Knee Jogger. There's right behind him, on board now. That's what I mean, you just cut that inside curve slightly. Try and get the nose in nice and sharpish, and then you pile on the throttle as soon as possible. Oh, that's a bad line from both of them through here. Oh, and knees clip the inside wall. That's a real shame. He probably would have got a better exit if he hadn't done that. And now we have Des all over his back, over his rear. It's going to be a tight one. We're going to the grass to defend. Let's see if Des can hold take the position. No, this time he falls back in line. RS3 is now pitted, as has Lorcas. RS3 right down to... well, they're both right out of fuel now. Let's see what happens here. Knee Jogger needs to just be careful here. Roll it through the corner nicely, get a good exit, and he'll need the same out of turn 1. This track is an absolute monster. We saw that on Thursday. It's so easy to make a mistake that cost you. And Knee Jogger really was one of the drivers who didn't make many mistakes or errors, and it really paid off for him with a second place finish. A one-stop strategy, even though there were cars around him that were quicker. There's RS3, talking of cars that were quicker than Knee Jogger on Thursday. This man was the only person who could have taken pole away from Pluxtheduck. Unfortunate error on lap 1 really threw his race down the toilet. That'll Gadget a chance to make up, the pieces, but he too had errors. Took damage on the engine, going through the dipper. And there's Lorcas. It's a shame that we don't see him in the Thursday series. He'd be another quick driver, we think. He's another quieter member of the community. Turns up, races hard. We like that. Alex deciding to go through that corner a little bit sideways on entry, but a nice and tidy exit. Alex is known for drifting cars when he really shouldn't really be doing that, but he enjoys himself, we think. There's Nari, very quick. There's Alex slowly pulling that gap away, I think. Of course, helped out by the fact that he's got fresh tyres and Nari doesn't. He had a big enough gap, and he will keep a big enough gap. Nari really needed to get in front of Alex in the pit stops to make that strategy work. As we see Knee Jogger still under pressure from Desler as they come through the chase. And this is such a good part of the track. Kind of sneaks up on you and how difficult this part of the track is, because you've got through all the twisty mountain stuff, but then you've got to get back on the brakes hard. And again, oh, Knee Jogger looks like he's gone in deep. Oh, what an absolute shame. He's been having a great run. Knee Jogger's thrown it off the circuit and allowed RS3 back through. Oh, and he's put it in the wall again. Knee Jogger deciding that a green car means he really has an affinity for grass too. And that allows Gadget through. In 6th position, a little bit further down than he usually would. But we've seen he's had issues all race. He's just trying to have a bit of a recovery drive. Show off the sponsor a little bit. There's Lorcas. Bringing up the rear for now. Or near the rear. As we look now, he's going to probably take the lead back now. Of course, he's going, looks like 1 lap longer. Oh, and Des has had another issue down after the chase. So he pits now, so that's going to cost him some time with respect to RS3. We'll see if RS3 goes around again. Looks like he is. As everyone successfully managed to negotiate the very difficult pit lane here at Bathurst. Or should I say the Panorama circuit. So, watching Bullet now again. What did I say earlier? Just easy does it. That's Bullet's style. Keeping himself out of trouble. It's going to give him some good points. He can hold off people like Lorcas and Desler. And he's got a good chance. Gadget's in the pits as well. There's Knee Jogger. He's already pitted, it looks like. Pretty much full tank of fuel. And Daz is bringing up the true rear of the field. Not too far off the back of Gadget, but he hasn't pitted recently, I don't think. We'll see how these strategies shake out. So over halfway into the race now. Expect to see Nari pitting this time, and Alex will retake the lead with all likelihood. Oh, Daz just only put 2 wheels on the gravel there in the very elegant Aston Martin. Really, we've seen, the problem with a front engine car is sometimes it just doesn't really want to turn in, just like that. Just would rather to become concrete block shaped. There's Nari coming through. Oh, up on the curb there. You heard the engine have to modulate the throttle a little bit to stop the back end slipping out, and then heavy onto the brakes into this really rather difficult pit lane entry. Not a simple way through, but it gets you slowed down. And Alex there, definitely going to be taking that lead back. No one's really looked like they're going to challenge him today. There's RS3. He might put a little bit of pressure on Nari. We'll see what the fueling is like for Nari. So the litres coming in now. Again, RS3 is one of those drivers with a lot of pace, but sometimes throws himself off the road, which costs him a lot of time. If you can iron those errors out, he'd become a very, very good driver for this series. Pace is one thing, but it's more about average lap speed more than anything. There's Desler. A couple of errors have slipped into his game today. He's going to have to race hard to catch back up to the top 4 in the field. He's still got a chance. Could even get a podium if he drives hard for the rest of the race. He's got good pace. Seems to be on, the same sort of strategy as those in front. So it's going to come down to how quick he is on the track and if he decides to throw it off into the grass some more. If he doesn't, you can see here actually just how difficult that double left-hander is. You come through and it's kind of blind. You've got to kind of throw it in, get off the pedal. Oh, a touch of the wall there. That's going to cost him half a second by the time he gets to the top of the hill. As we're looking at, Gadget running it. There we go. That's a perfect example of just how difficult that corner is. You run in the first bit, you're going a little bit too hot, and then the second part you're completely compromised for. And you're compromised always up the hill. Oh, that sounded like a crash. Oh, Knee Jogger's pounded it into the wall. A really awkward spot that's going to lose him bags of time where everyone's doing about 150. We're on board with Knee Jogger now. Probably a replay of that incident. Oh, a touch of the wall there. Now he's offline through here. He's on the dirty part of the track, and he hits the curb. And oh, I think that was a crunching impact. I think the replay director really didn't want to see that, so cut away early. There's Gadget. This is the lap after. Oh, no, it is. Sorry, I am correct. Oh, a good battle here between Bullet and Lorcas. Oh, big bit of wheel spin from the F1 there. Gets on the power okay though once he's sorted it out and keeps Lorcas behind him. Of course, these cars less aero dependent, so they can run fairly close together. Oh, big slide there from Lorcas. Oh, sports soft tyres, not the grippiest things. Oh, a touch of the wall, that's going to cost him a bit of time. And he's a little bit wide through there as we come into the dipper. Hard on the brakes. As we're back with knee jogger now. After that error. See if he can recover anymore. He's probably got a good gap to Daz. As Alex is now in the pits. Nari will again take that lead. But he's not going to be able to hold on to it. He might get an extra 2 laps. But either way, he's definitely got to pit one more time. So this is all for nothing. It's not like he managed to get a whole stint back. There's RS3. He's probably just pitted looking at his fuel. So he's good for another few more laps, but his strategy might leave him a little bit kind of out to dry there. He'll probably have to pit with about 2 laps to go, which is not exactly optimal. Oh, Gadget. Oh, that's unfortunate. Just pushing a little too hard. We're now on board with Lorcas, it looks like. Right on the tail of Bullet. That's what I said. The F1 is very quick in a straight line, but it has to kind of get itself up to that speed. While the MP4's got a little bit better acceleration, especially when you're using the slipstream. We go through the chase. Oh, we can see just how fast that section is. Then you've got to get on the brakes hard. As we go through the tight left-hander. In the Group 2 cars, it was possible to cut that chicane a little. The curb, sorry, not chicane. Cut that curb a little bit. But in these, you'd probably just get masses of oversteer and possibly could spin out. There's Gadget in 4th, but he'll be pitting at the end of this lap. He's just ahead of Lorcas. Brake now into the tight left-hander after the chase. Good recovery from both Gadget and Lorcas. Lorcas doesn't need to pit, probably for another lap, maybe 2. But again, that looks like that leaves him out to dry a little bit. There's Desler. He might be fueled to the end now. Bullet will need to pit again. There's a knee jogger. Had a bit of a sad race. He's now technically last as Daz has retired his car. And there's Nari. This will be a strong second place result for him. Good drive. Just couldn't really match Alex today. These things happen. He'll take the second place points, give him a nice boost in the championship, keep him safe with the relegation zone. Of course, that's how this series works. There's 2 tiers. Tier 1 is for the top drivers, and you guessed it, Tier 2 is for the slightly less top drivers. And the top 3 in Tier 2 replace the bottom 3 in Tier 1 at the end of the season based on points. Just so we get a little bit of movement and a bit of a kind of league style system. As this is the Drivers Room Sunday League. If you want to get involved with this season, or this series let's say, you need to get hold of MJR_Mercer. You'll see him in the Tier 2 races for the Drivers Room series. But if you ping anyone's name that you see on the screen, they'll be able to point you in the right direction. Always accepting more members. Oh, actually, oh dear, that is another spin from Desler. This one possibly, oh, that might be a record on how far he's managed to throw that into the kitty litter. That's really unfortunate for Desler. You see, here's Alex getting the tail out a little bit there. He knows he's probably on his way to a victory. He's allowing the car to just slide out a little bit. He's got to be careful. Larry doing a little bit of sliding on the way into the corner. That looks a little bit less planned. Oh, nice four-wheel drift there. That's definitely some points for style. There's RS3. He might actually make it on fuel. Looks like he's gone for the slower but more fuel-efficient approach. If he can hold off Lorcas, who's right behind him. But Lorcas is very, very much out of fuel. I think Lorcas has kind of shot himself in the foot there. Now on board with Des. Oh, pushing a little too hard, methinks. He's dinged the wall all over the place there. That's allowed Bullet to catch back up to him. There's Nijogger and Gadget pulling up the rear now after that error that he had in the gravel. Can he get back past Nijogger? See what happens. We're on lap 17 now. This is likely to be the last lap of the race. We've got Gadget, we've got Nijogger, and we've got Bullet. This is going to be who finishes 6th and who finishes last. As we see Nijogger powering past Bullet, looks like he got a much better exit out of that corner. We saw that earlier in the race as well from Nijogger. Let's see how Bullet can respond, if he can respond. He's a bit low on fuel, he should make it round. And there's Gadget. Much tidier entry than Bullet had, and you can see on the way up towards the double left-hander, he's closed a lot of ground on Bullet. Oh, difficult corner. Get on the power nicely there from Bullet. He's running no aids outside of ABS. There's Nijogger. He's in 6th now after being last not long ago. As we're on board with Alex, who's just about to come across the line now. He's going to time this almost to perfection. Definitely got the fuel right. Oh, nice little kick up of dust on the way out the final sequence of corners as we come into the last corner now. And it's been a very dominant victory from Alex. He's going to take pole, the win and fastest lap. A tail sliding out the final corner, and awesome Alex is awesome in Bathurst. Larry there, good strong second place. They didn't really have the pace to catch Alex, but drove pretty much I think maybe he's burning off a penalty there actually. Had a mistake-free race from Larry, gets him second. And RS3 is going to redeem himself after the Thursday race where he kind of self-imploded and take home a nice strong 3rd position. He had good pace and went for a different strategy, and it did pay off, but he could have burnt a little more of that fuel off and he would have been possibly challenging Larry. But a good strong podium there. As we see, oh, Lorcas and Desler right to the line. Who's going to have this? Oh, Lorcas has thrown it. Oh no, on the final corner, Lorcas has thrown it away. Is Nigel going to get him on the exit? Oh, it's going to be close. Yes, he is, and Lorcas drops another position. Bullet is going to take home 7th. He's held off Gadget. Gadget's had to burn off some penalty there, so it wouldn't have made a difference. And Gadget rounds out the field in 8th. He'll still score some points because we had a shortened field. So, after that thrilling race at Bathurst, we can see Alex is now pulled ahead of F1, who didn't show up this time. Then we've got McGee and Desler, Nijogger and Nari, who's jumped himself up the order a fair bit with that strong second. Bullet's in 7th now. Gadget's the big loser out of this, as he didn't really gain many points. And RS3 jumps himself up the board outside of the drop zone. And we can start to see there our drivers in the drop zone. Well, thank you very much for watching, and catch us next time.